is Mitchell Pham. He's the Managing Director of Augen Software Limited and also Augen Vietnam.
Yes.
And so tell me, what difference does cultural capability make to Augen?
Cultural capability to us is very much at the core of our business, because for the last 10, nearly 11 years, we've been working across 2 different countries, 2 very, very different cultures. Our Vietnam operation has been a huge part of our New Zealand business, and so there is that part between the 2 parts of our organisation. But even within our New Zealand business, over the years we've employed probably over 30 different nationalities from outside of New Zealand. At any one point in time, you will see more than 20 nationalities in our Auckland office. And so that cultural diversity has brought about a number of key things for our business.
So tell me about Augen. I mean, essentially, you tell me about the model of Augen, because actually the whole of your software vision requires cultural capability.
It certainly does. So our business is very much focused on helping New Zealand businesses accelerate software innovation, which is in today's world a very, very key part of most businesses in how they can operate more efficiently, how they can be more integrated with their ecosystem of business, and more importantly, how they can improve and advance their customer experience and so that they can differentiate themselves in the market. So software is a very, very key part of the business in today's world. And in order to do that, we have been trying to address one of New Zealand's key challenges around having the resource capacity in order to develop and accelerate the process of developing software solutions and implementing them. And in trying to do so, we decided to tap into the resource pool in Asia and develop a business model where we operate very, very closely between New Zealand and Vietnam, having both of our operations functioning together as one entity, one family, and part of that model involves our customers directly as well. And so, as you can imagine, there's cultural diversity inside our business here in New Zealand. There is the diversity between New Zealand and our Vietnam operations.
So basically what you do is you take Vietnamese IT people and
Yes.
you use them to solve New Zealand company IT problems.
That's correct,
Wow.
in a nutshell.
Yeah, and so do you go back there and supervise them? Are they supervised, by locals? How does that work?
So we have built a business that fully integrates both the Vietnam and the New Zealand operations together as one. So it feels like they're all working in the same company, they're just working in 2 different offices. That took a long time because the 2 cultures are very, very different.
What are the major differences between Vietnamese culture and New Zealand culture?
There are many, many differences. And especially when it comes to working in different types of software projects that are in different industries and so forth, and so there's differences across different industries as well. But if I was to just generalize into a few key things, I think there is a very strong hierarchical element to the Vietnamese culture.
That's right.
There's also a very, very strong collectivistic element to Vietnamese and potentially most Asian cultures. And those 2 differences alone can bring some strength, but also some challenges to what we do. And so in order to embrace these differences, we have had to work out what parts to put into our processes and project management methodologies, and which parts we need to kind of push outside of our projects in order to ensure that we are successful with our New Zealand customers.
And you're perfect to do that because you weren't born here, you're born in Vietnam. Tell me your story. Why are you in New Zealand?
I was a boat refugee person from Vietnam. I escaped Vietnam and spent 2 years in 4 refugee camps in Indonesia before I arrived in New Zealand, after all of the traumas that were involved. I then studied here in Auckland. I went to university. I met my friends who later became business partners, and then founded the business and grew that here in New Zealand.
So you are right in the middle. You're running the company in New Zealand and dealing with Kiwi clients, and then you're working with the Vietnamese IT specialists and getting the solutions.
Yes. So I actually founded our Vietnam operation over 10 years ago.
It's been so successful.
We've had many successes, and I'm very, very happy with that. But of course, it hasn't been easy. It does require not just me, who was probably instrumental in setting the two things that are very different up in a way that they can work together well, but also our staff and our management team over the years have also learned to work with, to embrace, but also to shape and to fine-tune the way we work across such a diverse range of cultures and everything else.
So is your company the face of New Zealand's future? Because we're such a super diverse ethnic country already, especially in Auckland. Do you see a lot of other companies like yours?
We see companies that are just as diverse as we are all the time, especially in Auckland. Most of our customers have staff and management who have not been born in New Zealand. For us, for many years, for nearly 20 years, our board of directors was 80% first generation migrants from US, from Europe, from Asia. Our staff ratio in New Zealand, in our Auckland office, is between 75 to 85% at any one point in time are first generation migrants to New Zealand.
So are you unusual in the IT software space in the sense that you are using Asian IT talent to solve these problems? Because there is a real dearth of IT people and specialists in New Zealand. Are you unusual, or do other companies do it too?
Firstly, I don't think we are unusual. Partly because we're in Auckland, but also the IT industry in general has a very diverse composition of the labor force in IT. And also in IT, we often end up dealing with businesses that have very, very international outlook and operations. And so by nature, there's a lot of diversity going on that we end up touching whatever kind of business and whatever industry and so forth. So I actually believe that, I think even New Zealand as a country, I believe we've always been diverse. What is different now is that we've had some time in gaining some visibility and awareness of diversity. We have recently been, progressing in adapting, embracing diversity, and I think, that's kind of past and present. For us, the future really isn't about whether or not we are already diverse or we're going to be more diverse, but more importantly, it's about how can we be more strategic about diversity? How can we tap into that diversity and make it work even better for New Zealand?
So does that require building more cultural capability amongst New Zealanders?
I generally believe so, because I don't think we can just rely on the fact that simply because we are a diverse country, that our people are just born diverse, and also there are still many generations of Kiwis who have come from non-diverse backgrounds and who are probably not as aware or I guess, knowledgeable about the diversity that we have and what benefits that might bring. So I believe that it will definitely benefit businesses as well as communities in developing more cultural capabilities.
Thank you.
You're welcome.